And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. And we're going to jump right into it tonight. Blizzard warning has been issued for the entire Arctic coast for Wednesday afternoon and night into Friday afternoon. We're going to see some strong northeast to east winds develop as a result of high pressure up in the over the Arctic Ocean and a push of Arctic air coming in from the Canadian Arctic coast that's going to drop down in across the interior as we head toward the weekend. A Gulf front is going to also pull moisture northward just ahead of this Arctic air that's going to work its way across the interior. So we expect several inches of accumulating snow Thursday into Friday along and north of the Alaska Range, especially in through the central eastern interior. And then that quick shot of Arctic air will work its way from east to west across the interior this weekend. And coming up, astronomically speaking, we have the full cold moon of December, Saturday the 15th, and the winter solstice follows a week later on Saturday, early the 21st. And looking at a few of the FAA webcams, dead horse up there along the Beaufort Sea coast, mostly cloudy 19, looking southward, a sliver of daylight there, but we're going to see winds picking up across this area for Wednesday afternoon and night, resulting in ground blizzard conditions that will spread westward along the Arctic coast into Thursday. Northway mostly clear, 0 right now, one of the normally cold spots. You're going to get in on some accumulating snow there, upper Tanana Valley, as moisture comes up from the Gulf, and then we have Arctic air coming in from the east out of Canada, and those two things coming together will enhance that potential for several inches of snowfall Thursday and Friday. Kodiak, more rain, had record rainfall a couple days ago. You can pick up another inch or two of rainfall between now and end of the week, 43 degrees with some wind and the fog as well. Skagway, foggy conditions, 36, and the Panhandle will continue to have some lingering lighter showers around the area there tonight and into the day on Wednesday. But of note, it's the blizzard warning that's been issued by the Fairbanks Forecast Office all along the Arctic coast from Point Hope, Utqiagvik, eastward past Kaktovik. We expect the worst conditions for later Wednesday night and through the day Thursday. And some of these winds, especially in this section here, new exit toward Dead Horse to just west of Kaktovik, gusts could be as high as 60, 65 miles an hour, creating those ground blizzard conditions. Also, this portion of the Dalton Highway that comes north there could be affected along the north slope. And then those conditions will spread westward as we go through Wednesday evening and Wednesday night, expected to be the worst then late Wednesday night through Thursday, before beginning to let up by Friday afternoon. Now here across the southeast mainland, there's a couple things going on. We have recent warmer temperatures. We had that Chinook wind and frontal system event that came up into south central. Anchorage saw temperatures yesterday, that's Monday evening, briefly up above 50. It was 52 degrees at Merrill Field around 8 p.m. on Monday evening. Meanwhile, winds were gusting as high as 60 to 65 miles an hour along Anchorage hillside down along the south end of town. And those winds have since subsided, but all that warm air that's come up into this area has caused the ice to break up a bit or melt on some of the streams and the runoff as well from the melting. So there could be some, as things freeze up again or as we continue to get some maybe additional runoff, that there could be some minor flooding along the lowlands of some creeks and rivers due to some ice jams. But now this area in the interior along and north of the Alaska Range, then include Delta Junction, Tok, Northway, Eagle. Several inches of snow could fall here because there's going to be a frontal system lift north with moisture Thursday. And then you're going to have this Arctic air beginning to come down out of Canada from the Canadian Arctic coast. And as those two systems meet, that'll enhance the lift and create a couple of days of some steadier light to occasionally moderate snowfall that could add up to several inches, maybe 3 to as much as 8 inches of snow. Looking at the satellite imagery, we have another low pressure that's come up across the eastern Aleutians. It's kind of splitting in two right now, taking a similar track to the one earlier that brought all the warm air all the way up to Point Hope, where temperatures got to or just above freezing. It's also what helped push that mild air and the Chinook winds across the Alaska Range and up along areas of Prince William Sound into the Anchorage Bowl. In fact, Portage Glacier on Monday morning had a wind gust of 85 miles an hour with that front. But right now, we're watching the next system coming through. Not quite as potent, but it will still be producing active weather. Here's the split low pressure system as of this Tuesday afternoon. This one here is going to take a similar track to the original one that's there, that's weakened. That's going to kind of pull back to the west as we go through tomorrow. This one will kind of follow up along this front and redevelop a secondary low in the Gulf that'll pull back toward the Kenai Peninsula on Thursday. So late tonight into Tuesday morning, here's what then is the low that lifts up near and southwest of St. Matthew. This one is the front that comes across again the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, keeping some rain and wind going. And then as we get into Wednesday afternoon, the front begins to break down, transition to more of a trough. And we have a secondary low here just south of the central Gulf that's going to pull back to the north and west. And then by the time we get into Thursday afternoon, that low is going to pull back toward the Kenai Peninsula, Upper Cook Inlet. It's going to pull this boundary or front northward with some moisture. Meanwhile, you have this backdoor cold front coming in from Canada that's coming in from the northeast. This front will spread a quick-hitting shot of Arctic air across the interior this weekend that's going to move from east to west, pulling off of Norton Sound and the lower Yukon Delta later on this weekend by the time we get into Sunday, early Monday. So temperature-wise, lows up here in the northern panhandle will actually be a little cooler than that, mid-30s. Down to the south, readings near 40. Along the Alcan border and up there in Yukon Flats, there could be a few areas at or below zero. Tok, again, will be below zero tonight, at least for a time. We still have readings, though, could stay above freezing here in the southwest interior, such as Bethel, Yamonic, all the way on up toward Anvik. And lows may get just near or below freezing, Anchorage up toward Talkeetna. So again, things will ice up. Be very careful. Walkways, parking lots are very slippery at times with this milder, occasionally wet weather that's featured freezing rain or just plain old rain. And then you get the wind buffeting the snow cover and the ice, and it just polishes it better than a Zamboni. And looking at temperatures for Wednesday afternoon, should be back up mid-upper 40s for the central southern panhandle. Areas along the Alcan border, still teens. And then along the west coast, we could still see readings again above freezing all the way north to Point Lake. Cape Lisburne had some downslope winds today where it was 41 degrees. So again, more of an unusual push of milder air up along the west-southwest side of the state. And then Thursday morning, temperatures a bit colder along the Arctic coast with those brisk winds and blizzard conditions, because we're going to have those brisk northeasterly winds along the entire Arctic coast where that blizzard warning is in effect. And down to the south, again, temperatures maybe just below freezing, south central areas. And then as we get into Thursday afternoon, we expect highs still mid-40s, outer areas of the panhandle, Sitka down toward Craig and Klawak. Along the Alcan border, highs teens to around 20. But as that moisture lifts north, that weakening front comes along and across the Alaska Range, it's going to meet up with that colder air starting to come down from Canada. And so this region along and just north of the Alaska Range could see a period of accumulating snow, several inches, light to moderate snowfall as we go through the day Thursday and Friday. And then finally, that batch of Arctic air will work its way westward across the interior for the weekend, Saturday into Sunday. And following that, so this is next Monday, just leading up prior to the winter solstice, which is on the 21st, so that's next week. We're anticipating temperatures to average above normal across southern, especially southwest Alaska, including the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, Kenai Peninsula, areas around Cook Inlet and Prince William Sound. Less so further north, but still above normal for this time of year in December. And then looking at precipitation, we're still going to have some systems trying to come up in out of the Gulf. They don't look like the moisture is really going to penetrate deeply into the interior next week, but it'll be enough to keep coastal rains going along the Gulf Coast, and the intercoastal mountains will see bouts of snow. Some of it could be heavier, locally heavier, but the best likelihood for above normal precipitation next week will be southern parts of Alaska, including the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, Kenai Peninsula, up through Anchorage, and then east into the Panhandle, whereas farther north, we are not anticipating precipitation to be as broader and a little drier conditions along the Brooks Range, North Slope, and the Arctic coast.